Good to go. Hey, this is John Clay with Parenting the Clay Way, and my guest host here is Travis McCabe. Travis, welcome from Green Bean Coffee here in Altoona.
Thank you as always.
We have a nice time talking about some parenting tips, just sharing what we've done, and maybe getting some ideas from others too. And today's topic is going to be punishment and discipline and that kind of thing. And first off, we talked off air about spanking and whether, how much do you physically use that kind of a discipline technique. A touchy issue. Let's go ahead and talk about it. How did you evolve, or what did you decide to do, and did it change?
You know what? I remember when I was little. Mm-hmm. Back in the day. My mom. I got a licking.
Yeah,
she would say, she's like, I got a licking. Yeah. And I hate to say, things have changed to a point mm-hmm. where, everybody's very.
Kind of abuse. What is that considered abuse? And
so
you have to know what that line is.
There isn't a line, and some people take it to a large extreme, to another person, just a quick smack on the bottom, just like, hey, knock it off, mm-hmm. And I think. My personal approach, when I have my son, he learned quick. He got to the point where as my voice would raise, he was like, okay, I've pushed the button too far, mm-hmm. And now it's same point, he's going to be 16. My voice is raised. He knows where he reaches the limit. Yeah. I can remember only spanking him maybe twice, and it was more like I said, that quick crack on the butt, mm-hmm. and that was it. It was done. It's like you were less. And it was almost like to the point where you crack, like get in the other room. Yeah. Just that. Go.
Well, I noticed that with my kids, it's definitely different per whatever the kid is.
Sure.
Some of them will push way, and then when they know they're going beyond into that zone where the punishment is going to be a crack on the butt.
Right.
Then they still continue, and so then I think it's an understood thing, and we even talk about it. And one thing I encourage when I do is I talk with the kids about, okay, well let's talk about what these things are that you do wrong, and let's talk about what the understood punishment is going to be.
Right.
And in some cases, we're leaning more heavily towards the idea of thoughtful punishment, where you're actually learning something from it. But as you say, I think sometimes to get your attention. Their attention rather, you will often use a spank on the butt.
Yep.
I think that anywhere from 1 to 3 spanks is appropriate, depending on how significant it is, whatever. But I agree. Like, now you have to be really careful of, like, okay, would an average person consider this to be abusive? And I can't get into that. And once you've used physical anger like that, you've already lost.
And I think, and I think that's right. And I think we have to check ourselves before we do it. I mean, if you're livid, and you're getting ready to go give your kid a crack on the butt, that crack on the butt may be way more than you think, just because we're so emotional, so upset, so angry. And are you upset because they spilt the milk, or are you upset because so and so did something at work and you've had a crappy day and this and this and this, and this was just the final straw where you're taking everything out, mm-hmm. When you're kids. So I think it's one of those things where it's that self-check, and my boys are older now, so now we're just like, fine, you do what you want, but you just lost your phone, you just lost this, you lost that. So it's a little bit easier now,
punishment's easier when you can take things away.
And take things that they have. It's like, you want your phone? Mm-hmm. Well, that phone I bought. Sorry, it's mine now. So it's one of those things where
I found something fascinating that I tried, because I was really trying to make sure that I was calm and reasonable as I'm interacting with them, even when I'm upset at something they're doing. And when they're 4, 6, and 8, it can be really challenging, and when there's multiple ones hitting each other and really causing problems. One thing that I found is that it's so much more effective when they're actually engaged in listening to me.
Right.
And one of the best ways I have to get them to engage with me is to give them a hug. No matter what I'm doing, if I give them a hug and I tell them I love them, they're going to now be reasonable with me.
Right.
And we can discuss what's going on. We can discuss what the punishment's supposed to be. And I don't find that I end up being so emotional about it.
Right.
I'm much more rational when we start with a hug. And arguably you could say that about almost anything you do in life. If you do it with love and you start with that understanding, boy, you're the ultimate goal is to be on the same page, and if you could jump to that really quickly, I think that's a big bonus.
Yeah, I agree. And there's also that, like I said, discipline is all based on emotion. It really is how they're feeling at the time, how you're feeling at the time. I remember one time with Braden, when he was little, we were outside having a little campfire with some neighbors, and just doing a s'mores thing. And he and a friend, they were running around the yard and they disappeared in the dark. Couldn't find him. I'm hollering his name, neighbors hollering their kid's name, back and forth, back and forth. Panic mode sets in, and then I'm checking the house. They're checking the house. Still panic mode set in. So now you're no longer angry. Now you're just scared.
Yeah.
And then I walk outside and we're like, oh, we found them. I walk outside and I look over at him and he looks over at me and I just look. I was like, don't ever do that again. And he just looked. He's like, I'm just going to be right over here. It was like it was done. He knew he went too far and that was it. But, it was just that relief where, I was upset and angry, but then that fear of everything kicked in. Punishment wasn't even a matter. It was just like, I'm so glad he's here. And I think whenever we discipline, there's so much emotion, where it's like you said, a hug would just be like, you know what, I love you. Please don't do this. I hate the way I'm feeling. I don't like, when you do this because I feel this way. And, vice versa. If they're upset at me, hey, I don't appreciate you did this. It's communication. It's expressing how you're feeling. And when they're younger, it's a little bit more difficult. But like you said, just pulling them close and hugging them, it kind of deflates the entire situation.
It does bridge the gap. Have you found one, talking now about discipline in terms of, and punishment rather, what kind of punishment do you think you've found has been most effective to get them to actually alter their behavior? That's ultimately what our goal is we want them to understand what they did was wrong, and we want to avoid that in the future, and to help you. This punishment is something we think is practical to kind of get you to think about it.
Like I said, my boys are all older, and right now, it's the loss of of their time, loss of belongings,
their favorite things.
Even to the point where it's like, what, no TV, no this, in fact, I don't even want you in your room. You can sit upstairs with a book. I don't want you going to your room. You don't need to be in your room. Because what you'll do is probably sleep. No, you need to be here and just sit and just do something productive with your time. And this is it. They may hate it, but you know what? It's not supposed to be. And the biggest thing is I think as a parent, we start feeling bad for them. And I find myself almost feeling like, what? All right, it's been a day, don't worry about tomorrow, but I set it for a week. But stick to it. Because they're like, oh, what is he going to do? It's just for a week.
Then you become a pushover.
Right, exactly. And it becomes one of those things where, it's like, I'm struggling just as much as you are. And you may not realize it, but I am, It's like, I don't like doing this for you. I don't like not seeing you with your phone or not without your phone,
Well, and that's one of the positives of finding a type of a punishment that ends up being positive, that they're actually being productive.
Right.
So in this time, this is what you're going to do with your time, and we're going to discuss. And I came across it this weekend when I was giving a punishment. And I thought I wanted him to understand that he can be a productive person. I was upset. That something he did at school, and we were going to deal with that with the school too. But also right now, I'm upset with you, and I'm disappointed in you, deeply disappointed. But you know what? You can be a really productive person. So I set him about doing some worksheets, school worksheets, where he could do math and such that he enjoys, or whatever. But it's like, look, you're a productive person, and you can do positive things. And that energy, I felt like there was this energy between us that was frustrating energy, and here's a way to put it to good use.
Right.
And I felt like that's the best I felt as a parent. It was like, hey, he understood what I was saying, and now he's being productive. And it's not like, oh, you're doing math as punishment. It's like, I said, I want to show you that you can be a productive person and what you can accomplish if you set your mind to it.
Right.
So not so much punishment. It's like, instead of doing what you thought you wanted to do, I want to show you something else.
Right. Yeah. And it's a distraction to a point, and just saying, hey, this is what it is. Because of your actions, this is your choice. The choice you made resulted in this.
Yeah.
And fully comprehending, every choice you make is going to have a repercussion, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but still you ultimately made a choice. You chose to do X, Y, Z. And because you did that, I chose to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah. And it's clear, hopefully, even ahead of time, you know what the consequences are of your different actions.
Yep. Ideally, you should.
Yeah. Well, and that's ultimately we're really trying to prepare them for the step when they leave the house.
Absolutely.
Look, when you do these things, and I try to be really, really specific, because working in the media, we know exactly what people, when they break the law, I follow all these cases. I know exactly where people go and how they are punished.
Right.
And I can be very explicit about what these punishments are, and you don't want to go down that road. And,
Right.
and so I think for them to understand that there are consequences to everything you do, and you better know those before you do.
Yep. You know, if the worst thing that's happened to you is losing your phone for a week, God bless you.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Well, so that's a good idea. Some good tips and ideas for punishment and behavior issues that we were hoping to share with you. And feel free to share your ideas as well. We'd love to see those in the comments section and get back to you on those. And also, if you have some ideas, we'll do a follow-up. We can do some follow-up shows and bring some of those ideas into play next time.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we are going to be talking about, I think, exercise in another upcoming episode. So catch us next time. Travis McCabe and John Clay for Parenting the Clay Way. We'll see you next time.
See ya.